Welcome to the podcast, where a passion meets purpose and limits are challenged. I'm your host, Eleonora. Let's start bending reality. Today, I am talking about something that stops almost everyone from creating the life they truly want. Fear. Not fear itself, but what we make fear mean. When people tell me they want to learn a handstand, the first thing they usually say is, I am afraid of falling. And I completely understand. Because falling feels vulnerable. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like failure. But after teaching hundreds of people handstands, I have realized something. Very few people are actually afraid of falling. They are afraid of what falling represents. They are afraid of looking stupid. They're afraid of being judged. They are afraid of proving themselves right. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Maybe I am too old. Maybe I should have started years ago. The fear is not physical. The fear is psychological. The handstand simply reveals it. And life works exactly the same way. Most people do not avoid starting a business because of the business. They avoid uncertainty. They do not avoid speaking on stage because of the audience. They avoid the possibility of rejection. They don't avoid asking someone out because of that person. They avoid the possibility of hearing no. Fear rarely tells us the truth. Fear tells us a story. One of my favorite ideas comes from neuroscience. Your brain is constantly trying to predict what will happen next. Its primary job isn't to make you happy. Its primary job is to keep you alive. So, whenever you move towards something unfamiliar, your brain becomes cautious, not because it's dangerous, because it's unknown. This is why the first handstand feels terrifying. The first podcast episodes, the first client, the first speech, the first investment, the first difficult conversation. Your nervous system interprets novelty as potential threat. But here's the beautiful part. The nervous system learns through experience, not through overthinking. You cannot think your way into courage. You behave your way into courage. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall hundreds of times. Do they conclude, walking isn't for me? Of course not. Falling is simply part of learning. Somewhere along the way, as adults, we changed the meaning of falling. We started believing that falling means failure. What if falling actually means you are learning? Imagine if every setback became evidence that you are expanding your comfort zone. Imagine if every rejection became proof that you are taking action. Imagine if every failed attempt became data. Suddenly, fear loses its power. I do not teach handstands. I teach self-trust. Because once you trust yourself that you can exit the pose safely, you stop fearing the fall. And once the fear disappears, everything changes. You commit more, you breathe deeply, you take more risks. Isn't that exactly what happens in life? The people who seem fearless are not people who have never fallen. They are people who have learned they can survive the fall. They trust themselves. They can figure it out. Not because they know everything will go perfectly, because they know and trust they will figure it out. That is a completely different mindset. For 7 years, I have practiced handstands every single day. People often ask me, what is your secret? They expect me to tell them about shoulder strength, mobility, core exercises. But the real answer is much simpler. I stopped negotiating with myself. Every day, 15 minutes, that was the agreement. Some days were incredible. Some days I felt heavy. Some days I was traveling. Some days I was tired. Some days I modified the practice because my body needed something different. But I still showed up. Not because I was motivated, because it became part of who I am. Identity is stronger than motivation. When something becomes part of your identity, you stop asking, do I feel like doing it? You simply ask, how do I show up today? That question changed my life. One thing handstands have taught me is that fear and excitement feel remarkably similar. Both increase your heart rate. Both make you feel alert. Both create energy in your body. The difference is often the story you tell yourself. Am I terrified or am I excited? Am I about to fail or am I about to grow? Our thoughts shape our emotional experience. Two people can stand in exactly the same situation. One experiences panic, the other experiences possibility. The circumstance is the same. The interpretation is different. That's where your power lives. One of my favorite questions to ask myself is, what is the opportunity here? Every challenge contains one. Every setback contains one. Every fall contains one. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, who is this inviting me to become? That single question transforms fear into fuel, because now the obstacle becomes part of the journey, not a reason to quit. I have also noticed something interesting. The people who progress the fastest are not necessarily the strongest. They are the ones who are willing to look like beginners. They are willing to wobble, to laugh, to fail, to ask questions, to keep going. Ego slows learning. Curiosity accelerates it. What if you gave yourself permission to be a beginner again? How much more could you learn? How much more alive would you feel? So I'd like to leave you with a challenge. Think about one thing you've been avoiding. One conversation, one project, one dream, one opportunity. Ask yourself honestly, am I afraid of the thing itself, or am I afraid of what I think the outcome will mean about me? Because they are not the same. The handstand taught me that falling isn't the opposite of flying. Falling is part of learning how to fly. And maybe life is asking you to trust yourself just a little bit more. Not because you are guaranteed success, but because you are capable of getting back up. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear what your handstand is. What's one thing you are choosing to stop avoiding? Come and share it with me on Instagram at eleonora.gedelman. And if you're ready to experience these lessons through movement, I'd love to welcome you into my handstand coaching community at elevate.method. Until next time, remember, you do not become fearless before you act. You become fearless because you act. If you found this episode valuable, please rate, review, and share with someone who would benefit as well. Thank you for choosing yourself, doing the work, and creating change. Keep living with purpose.